Maybe it's the chair. Jeff used to come running in at the last minute. Thank you and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 10th Standing Committee of Council. I'm going to call the meeting to order. You have a copy of tonight's agenda. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Wall, seconded by Councillor Gagne. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 3, declaration of interest. Anything from council? I am going to declare on the new municipal solid waste facility. I'm not sure if I am, so I'm going to err on the side of caution and declare conflict, because I have shares in Haver Disposals, so I will be stepping out for that. And I believe that's the only one. Nothing else from council? Okay. Item number 4, announcements, awards, ceremonies, and presentations. So just a huge shout out to the Polar Pond guys. The place was hopping all weekend long. Great job. I saw Councillor Bouchard down there freezing his butt off. Timing. Anyways, it was just a really, really good event. People were smiling and lots of kids and people out. So yeah, huge shout out to them. Councillor Bouchard, go ahead.
Yeah, a little bit of stealing my thunder, but yes, Pond Hockey was a success again due to lots of volunteers, and thanks Minor Hockey, who ran most of the beer gardens and stuff like that all weekend, and all our sponsors, and the winners for the men's division was gold members, some local fellas, and then the ladies team was Zamboniets. Yeah, I think some of them were from Yellowknife. I think Abby Webster, local lady that used to live here, was on their team. But yeah, it was a good event and went off great. And I think we did some fundraising and doing a couple contributions there to Thiessen's, and yeah, shout out to Bobby's family. Sure. Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Obviously, you and Councillor Bouchard were up at the NWTAC meetings last week. I missed because I had the plague. But Council, the town of Hay River did win that Healthy Communities Award. I'm sure yourself or the SAO was going to mention, but also Councillor Bouchard was given his long service award for at least 15 years on council, so congratulations.
No longer the young one, hey. Anything further from council? Nothing noted. Anything from administration?
Nothing from administration, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 5, information only. I do have council liaison monthly updates on here. If you submitted a written one, we'll take it as information. If you didn't, I'm going to start at the far end. Councillor Willows.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Reporting on the Health Wellness Liaison, recommending at the Mayor's discretion having the CEO of HRHSSA do a presentation update on April the 7th, if that works for the calendar. Also, the Regional Wellness Council will be having a special meeting with Dr. Tim Parker that the Rotary Club is bringing in, and so date, I think we haven't nailed it down yet, but it'll be during that visit, so that'll be fine. In terms of the Healthy Community Committee, as the Deputy Mayor had indicated, our strategy won an award, and I guess we'll be having some other conversations about that award here this evening. Well, this Wednesday, myself, the Mayor, Stefan, and Stacy will be meeting to look at the strategy. There's been a few potential updates from both education, and health is working on some updates as well, so that we can update that document and then set a date for the next committee meeting. Would appear that the committee has expressed enough interest for us also to meet with the Dr. Tim Parker again, that the Rotary Club is bringing in. In terms of the electrical franchise agreement, I think everyone is aware we had the official transfer over to NTPC Was that last week? It seems longer ago, but I believe it was last Monday. Now we just await for the PUB to make their GRA decision, and we'll see where this all fleshes out. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councillor Gagne, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the liaison for the seniors, we recently and in the past couple of months, there was some observations of instances where individuals have been allowed access to Whispering Willows and have been consuming alcohol on the premises and or sleeping in the stairwells. This has caused discomfort and safety concerns among the residents. Stemming from that, a security system has generously, my goodness, been donated to the facility, and they're currently awaiting installation by the contractor. There is going to be a meeting this Wednesday, the 12th, with Adam from Housing, and I'm going to appear with the residents and speak with them about healthy boundaries and not letting people in the building and seeing what other things can be done to make them feel safer. There is also, that's March 12th at 3 p.m. in the Alice Cambridge room. And then there's a seniors lunch on the 13th at noon. There's also what they refer to as a UFO, which is unfinished object crafting session with the seniors every other Saturday. This Saturday is the first one for the bi-weekly at the Whispering Willows Alice Cambridge room from 1 to 4. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Gagne? Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. Not much of an update. I have a meeting scheduled with one of the reps from the Chamber of Commerce, but he's been out of town for some time, and hopefully as soon as they're back, I can have a sit down with him.
Thank you. My report is in the package, if you care to read it. Councillor Wall, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm the liaison for the Rotary, the Ski Club, and the Beautification Committee. The Rotary Club is asking the town of Hay River to formalize approval of the green space conversion to an off-leash dog area after consultation of 553 residents and a council vote. They're also asking the town of Hay River to provide approval for Rotary to complete the removal of the playground equipment in the Lioness Park. I will be going to the meeting this week with the Rotary Club on the 12th. The ski club meeting was really good, and we talked about PABs, which is not in the package. So the ski races are the 29th and 30th of March, just for public knowledge. And I also met with the Beautification Committee, and one of their major goals this summer or this spring would be to nicely talk to business owners who have maybe eyesores in front of their businesses, and just kind of spice that up a little bit. So those are my committee meeting comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Boucher, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, on the economic development tourism side, we just have a call out. The town's on their Facebook pages. I'm assuming it's on the website as well, but we've done some call outs for Economic Development Committee as well as Rec Committee and Housing Committee. So those are positions that we're looking for some people from the community to step up and participate in. So that committee will be established here hopefully in the next month or two. And then obviously spring's not right here yet. Winter's still trying to hold on here, but as we get into April, we'll have some local EMO meetings and stuff like that, and prepare for the breakup watch, and make sure everything's in place and everyone's prepared if there's any issues going forward. Yeah, RCMP crime type stuff. I know the mayor and I and the MLA, one of the MLAs was able to attend a neighborhood watch that's been kind of getting themselves established and associated, getting the society status. So obviously we have some stuff I think on the agenda tonight to deal with that. So yeah, hopefully we can get some of that stuff off these. Obviously everyone's talking about watching your neighbors and making sure you can help each other out. And I know the Healthy Communities Committee's been talking about having some public meetings on some of that stuff and see where we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for anybody? We're all good. So we're on 5B, which was my monthly report, information only. 5C is the RCMP monthly mayor. Oh, that would be the monthly report to the mayor for February, and then the agricultural newsletter. So if there's any questions on any of those, go ahead, Councillor Willows.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Bouchard reminded me, I believe we've set a date for that public meeting, but I can't recall if the appointments have gone out.
25th
The 25th of April?
of
March.
March, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I did send a placeholder.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions or comments on any of the information items? I will pass it over to SAO Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I'll keep things pretty brief, given my voice and sickness, but the council updates as well touched on some things that we'll get to later. Just myself and the Director of Infrastructure and Planning Services tonight. But a few updates from corporate services. So they've been working on a rollout of our new electronic timesheet and leave reporting system. Supports part of the council's strategic plan to improve operational efficiencies as a specific initiative. So right now it's seems to be going well, but through its implementation, it'll remove all of the duplication of effort that we see through that process. So we're pretty excited by it. Also, this Wednesday, there's a Finance Committee meeting. I think it's at noon. The package is probably going out later tonight or tomorrow morning, first thing, and includes the 2024 unaudited financial statements and the 2023 audited financial statements. Our auditor will be here to help present those. We've got several vacancies currently with the company. A couple in the the corporate services department. Some interviews are ongoing, but it's noting that it's becoming more and more difficult to fill these vacancies, and it's putting some stress on our operations and introducing some corporate risks. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just more of the sign of the times, but continue to try to work through and have strategic approaches to finding new talent. And also, so council knows, we are working on some laptop replacements for council, so we're just scoping those out and should have some communication with you shortly on that. Maybe I'll just pause to see if there's any questions for corporate services.
Any questions from council?
Okay, we'll go next to then Director of Infrastructure and Planning Services.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll be brief as well. We did make first steps with the new safety management system, and are working through some of the details. We had our first safety meeting, and we'll have our first building inspections with the new template shortly, probably within the next week or so. Not to say we didn't do some of these items before, but it's within the new program. Working through some of the bugs in terms of how it will roll out with the asset management system as well, and scheduling inspections, things like that. But really good from our end. It's I think it's going to work well. You know, we're new in the job, so I'm challenged with anything that's extra right now. But it's been laid out quite well. So looking forward to how that'll work. Following up on some environmental assessments that will occur on some of the properties, I guess formerly MTS, NTPs? No, NTE.
NTCL.
Thank you. Yeah, at the time. So Yeah, they're going to be doing those this spring, so we're just assisting them with access, and there's a number of properties they're looking at. Work through with Mackenzie Valley Water Board. Both the projects, the Airport Road and West Channel Berm, don't require any further environmental assessment work, which is great. With Airport Road, we've started the greenhouse gas study, so we're getting a lot of those sort of preliminary things out of the way. We'll have some ongoing discussions with the Indigenous groups, and so we'll be ready to go once the design's underway here. So I think aside from that, number of projects, but most of the rest of it is in the report. So we'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you. Any questions for our director? None noted. Back to SEO Smith.
Thank you, Worship. As mentioned by Councillor Willows, big news has been recently the electrical franchise purchase and sale agreement and its ancillary agreements. Those were executed, as well as a lot of banking transactions, and the new franchise agreement executed between NTPC, NACA, and the town of Hay River all came together for March 1st, the official day that NTPC took over operations. So yeah, really officially closing the book on 10 years, depending on your math, I guess, of effort to achieve that. Could go several decades on a rounding error with it. But yeah, really, it's now wrapped up to achieve past and current council's goals around ensuring the best electrical rates for residents and businesses are established in Hay River. So yeah, the mayor and the chair of the electrical franchise committee attended a ribbon ceremony with NTPC on the following Monday to celebrate their official opening. Interim electrical rates, I think, were approved last Friday, which is somewhat of an indicator, I guess, of where final rates and final rates go. But it did seem to suggest an approximately 20% reduction in comparisons to NACA's latest rates over the various rate classes that exist in Hay River. And that includes a 15% to 24% reduction in the residential non-government rate. So that's what most people in town that pay for their power bill get as a residential property owner. It depends on how much power you consume. But there's still a full GRA application. It's currently in front of the PUB, the Public Utility Board, which will better dictate those rates for the foreseeable term. What NTPC has submitted through it and the interim rate application is what they believe that they can charge for rates for the town of Hay River. And ultimately, of course, it's the Public Utility Board who will determine if they agree with what's been submitted. We're continuing as the town to intervene in the process, and yeah, there's different ways this can go, but we think there's a strong argument to be keeping these kind of rates that we're seeing in the interim position moving forward. I attended the NWT Association of Communities Conference and AGM last week in Yellowknife with Mayor Jameson, Councillor Bouchard were there. A lot of good networking and information exchanges on the programs really of interest to the town and supporting some of our strategies that are ongoing. We took the opportunity as well to set up a couple business meetings on the side, included meeting with Air Tindy just to discuss flight services to Hay River, and we also met with a farmer that was interested in accessing land in Hay River. As Deputy Mayor mentioned, Councillor Bouchard was awarded the 15 years of, or recognized for his 15 years of local government service as a town councillor. And the town of Hay River was recognized as the recipient of their Healthy Community Award. It's up on the wall of fame there, so to speak. I guess those are the last 3 awards that we've won in recent years from the Association of Communities. The award, there's more information in your package and about the details of what was considered. Obviously, we recognize there's a lot of social issues and such in the community still, like many others, but there has been a lot of effort demonstrated by this and past council in the last few years coming out of the COVID and fires and wildfire or flooding situations. So all those social, environmental, economic factors, including recreation, where we received that prestigious national award. There's still a lot going on, and I think you're heading in the right direction, and certainly the Association of Communities recognized it. So, yeah, in your package, there's, we were awarded $5,000 as part of that award, and we have made a recommendation for disbursement. And, yeah, after that, hopefully, or we will go forward with just a small little public notice that we received that award and why we did so. Big activity for administration right now is the curbside cart program and the solid waste processing levy that we're trying to introduce. So our project teams continue to work on the implementation of that. An updated solid waste bylaw that has been previously reviewed by Council's Policy and Bylaw Committee and the Standing Committee of Council, and it has had a legal review as well through the process. That's in front of Council tonight at your next meeting, at your special meeting of Council. So from that, next steps really are getting into communications. Once that legislation's approved, or at least partially approved, we're going to start communicating, including we have a web page dedicated with frequently asked questions, and a public memo will be released this week. We've got a public information session that we're planning for next Wednesday, I believe it is. And we're going to get one of the bins there, do some demonstrations and answer questions. I think also mentioned by Council earlier, but our committees of Council, there is a public advertisement issued today for to support recruitment of several committees of Council, and that includes the Housing Committee, the Economic Development Committee, and the Recreation Board. So you have until, any interested parties have until March 31st to submit their application. Certainly encourage Council and everyone else to get the word out there and try and find some people that are, especially that are in that area, that can provide value to Council. That's our administrative inquiries presentation for today.
Thank you. Any questions for our SAO? Definitely a lot going on, and I will have a written report on the NWTAC to Council, hopefully for the next one. Okay, so moving on to item number 7, new business. 7A is the Infrastructure and Planning Services Monthly Report for February 2025. Looking for a motion. Oh, sorry. Councillor Wall, go ahead.
I move the recommendation that the Council of the Town of Hay River accepts the Infrastructure and Planning Services Monthly Report for February 2025 as presented.
Seconded by Councillor Gagne. Any questions? Comments? Agreed to take forward? Thank you. 7B, Recreation and Community Services Monthly Report for February. Looking for a motion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of Town of Hay River accepts the report entitled Recreation and Community Services Monthly Report for February 2025 as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wall. Any questions? Go ahead.
Not a question, but I was there at the swimming pool this weekend, and I just wanted to let Councillor Bouchard know, if he's not aware yet, and anybody else that might be listening that cares, the pump has been replaced in the hot tub, so we have jets again.
Perfect. Okay, nothing else. Agreed to take forward? Agreed. 7C, Municipal Services Monthly Report for February. Looking for a motion. Councillor Gagne. Oh.
Yeah, I move that the Council of the Town of Hay River accept the Municipal Enforcement's report for February 2025 as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Bouchard. Any questions? Agreed to take forward? 7D, Emergency Services Monthly Report for February 2025. Councillor Wall, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the recommendation that the Council of the Town of Hay River approves the Emergency Services Activity Report for February 2025 as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gagne. Any questions? Agreed to take forward?
Agreed.
Thank you. 7F, Federation of Canadian Municipalities Climate Change Grant Application. Go ahead, Councillor Willows.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Council of the Town of Hay River direct staff to apply for a funding opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities' local leadership for climate adaptation initiative for the development of a climate adaptation plan for Hay River.
Well spoke. Seconded by Councillor Bouchard. That was a mouthful. Go ahead, Councillor Bouchard.
Just had a question if this was a requirement for that application, or like, I know we're applying for probably thousands of applications a year type thing. Just wondering if we needed to give them. I know we had some meetings with them, roundtables and stuff like that at NWTAC, but is that a requirement they need for their application? Sorry.
I had the same question. S.A.O. Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. So it's pretty common now for municipalities to have a climate mitigation and adaptation type plan in consideration of climate change effects. Just kind of guides your direction on how you're managing your assets within the community, managing or identifying risks within the community. We're well aware of the flood impacts and the recent fire, but it's kind of sets a path towards supporting your assets and your residents and such. But and also I would say that it requires, I mean, it helps support other funding applications. Most of the funds out there nowadays are tied to either mitigation or adaptation, and at least they have been. We'll see where the new governments take us. But we had identified this as a need in our capital plan and in business plans that council approved as part of the 2025 budget. So we made an application to FCM for, I think it's $70,000, if I'm correct, $70,000, and then there was additional $20,000 in budget to support the $90,000 total project cost.
That was the question.
Oh, sorry. I've given you a bit of background. I'm a little cloudy, but
I get it.
I can
totally
ramble with
get
the
it.
best of them. So sorry, the question was,
Is it?
oh, was a motion required?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if I got it.
Sound like you're a
Got it.
politician. You should be on this side of the table.
Yeah.
He's stuttering over there.
Let's give you a background. Yeah, I mean, we've often brought forward to council when this was a requirement as part of the application, yeah. But we also do like to bring forward when we are applying to funds, because you can use it for other purposes. We want to make that suggestion. But yeah, no, it was a requirement that we require a motion from council to support the application. Sorry.
Thank you.
I said I wouldn't say much tonight.
Cole's notes version on the application. No further questions? Agreed to take forward? Item 7G, Property Assessment and Taxation Act, Tax Sale Provisions. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of Town of Hay River, in accordance with the Property Assessment and Taxation Act, RSNWT 1988, Chapter P-10, Section 97.6, 1, sets the date of public auction where taxable property will be offered for sale as June 12, 2025 at 10 a.m. in Town Hall Council Chambers. And 2, that the minimum sale price of each taxable property as calculated in accordance with the regulations is provided for as follows.
Thank you. Seconded by? Councillor Wall. Any questions to the motion? Agreed to take forward? Item 7H is the Healthy Communities Award. So with our award, we got money. Here's the recommendation. So money's always a good thing. Looking for a motion. Councillor Willis, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the Council of the Town of Hay River approves the reallocation of $5,000 awarded to the Town of Hay River for winning the NWT Association of Communities 2025 Healthy Community Award as follows. 1, $2,500 to the Hay River Youth Center, conditional on reopening of the facility in 2025. 2, $2,500 to the Hay River Watch Society, conditional on society registration and election for officials.
Thank you. Seconded by? Councillor Bouchard. Any questions, comments? Agreed to take forward? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wondering how these two things were chosen, just so that the public knows.
I'll pass that
informational
back to
purposes.
SAO Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I'll just focus on maybe the end of the report here and try not to get misaligned, but we did have some conversations with the chair of the Healthy Communities Committee. The Healthy Community Strategy's got a multifaceted kind of approach to it that looks at different areas, but felt that the Hay River Youth Center directly supported Objective 2.4 to improve children and youth safety and access to opportunity within the community. And the Hay River Watch supported Objective 2.3, which is strengthening crime enforcement initiatives, just through their recognizing that they're trying to create crime awareness and prevention in the community. So those were both objectives and priorities, I think, that were prioritized by the Healthy Communities Committee. So not to say that there's not a long list of other actions that could be supported, but that's the reasoning for those two.
Okay, any further questions, comments? Agreed to take forward? Okay, I'm going to pass the chair over to Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just to note that Mayor Jameson has left the room and looking for a recommendation for 7I, the new municipal solid waste facility site location. Councillor Wall, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move the recommendation that the Council of the Town of Hay River directs administration to move forward with functional design and engineering field assessments on a location legally described as Lot 1960, Plan 4178, the parcel on the southeast corner of the intersection of Highways 2 and 5, to further determine suitability for a new municipal solid waste facility.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Bouchard, and then questions. Go ahead, Councillor Bouchard.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions. The three potential sites, do we have access to that land, or do we have to make a request? And my second question is, I was actually thinking about the once we're done with the old site, how much care and, what do they call it, care and maintenance is going to be required for that facility? I know it's part of our water licensing, and how much do we expect on a continuous basis to have to monitor that site?
Thank you, Councillor SAO Smith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So yeah, 3 sites here. They've been talked about, landfill site 1 and 2, which are on the screen there, talked really about for decades. And there's been multiple reports that have kind of looked at them, studied them. We had that most recent report, desktop study, that reviewed those studies and also included this landfill site 3. The challenges we've had with, amongst other challenges, is landfill 1 and, or site 1 and 2 we do not have access to. It's commissioners. I think one of them is actually commissioners and territorial lands. We have had discussions with, well, as council probably knows, it's been nearly impossible to access any type of land that's commissioners' lands. It just dies in consultation through lands and I think EIA, Executive Indigenous Affairs, as other as Indigenous governments are trying to settle their land claims. So we've made some progress on discussions. Landfill site 1 was the site of most interest as of late, but there's just a lot of access challenges to get to it. And it is kind of poor conditions in terms of swampy, marshy areas, but I shouldn't say poor, but it's some challenges in a lot of the area around there. There's the uncertainty of the rail situation as well in town. So landfill site 3 is titled land to the town. When our engineers completed the study, which did a terrain assessment and some of the considerations of technical, environmental, regulatory, social, economic type considerations, it was thought that that site was the best of the 3. Yeah, but certainly land tenure is a big consideration of that. So It's a good land. It's good land as well for development. So that's how we've kind of got to this point. We want to complete some more studying to determine suitability, a little bit more design work as well on what would be included in the new facility. And then come back to council. We'd also want to, it would have to, land site, or the Site 3 would require a rezoning. So as part of that exercise is where we think that we could do public consultation to get input into the site before we make a decision. There are potentially funds waiting for us to develop a new landfill. So, you know, it's taken a long time to really get to this point and over the last few years that I've been here. And, you know, we think that this is a site that's worth taking a shot on now to try to access that money to cover the capital costs. On the second question, yeah, there is a closure, remediation and closure plan associated with water, or with landfills and our water licensing agreement. So we just did an update in 2024. And yeah, at the beginning of the report, it speaks towards how much thought time is left there, but it's very near capacity. It has been for a long time, despite diversions and fires and such. So quite a bit of costs. If I want to say you need to remediate and monitor it for years and years, I feel like estimates were at around $5 million would have to be spent with closure costs. I will say that there is some early indication, like a lot of, when you have a landfill, a lot of it is regulatory type costs, including water monitoring. So we have a fire, we had a fire there several years ago that cost $1 million just to fight it then. But there's a lot of ongoing costs tied to continuing to monitor it because of the fire. But those monitoring stations might, with this new landfill or potential landfill at Site 3, there's some early thoughts that we might be able to benefit from using the existing wells for both sites just due to the location. So we're not positive on that, but that would be one positive. The other positive could be even from the development of the site at site number 3 is being able to excavate, if we excavated, and use the material right across essentially the highway to support cover activities at the old landfill. But I can get you more definite numbers. Actually, probably part of the rest of the assessment stages with the new landfill. We can give you some costs for closure. Anything else?
Thank you, SAO. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I guess I have one that maybe lead into a couple. I know that this has been an ongoing conversation for as long as I've been on council and many years before of, you know, where a future landfill would be, and I think a lot of the conversation at least that I've heard and been part of or heard of from previous councils was, you know, selecting a new landfill site that was further from the river and potentially not susceptible to, or it doesn't have the same requirements that you would have as close as we are for environmental monitoring, I guess. And I guess with my, you know, it seems silly to say that this is rushed because we've been talking about it for decades, but you know, in our minds, I think Site 1 was kind of the direction we were hoping to go, and now we're here talking about Site 3 and hoping to hurry up so we can potentially get some money, which I understand when there's money available, we need to strike while the iron's hot. But with the idea of moving this site essentially across the highway from where it is, has there been consideration given to just expanding the current site, say, like, you know, if you're looking at the map, just more towards the highway, I guess it would be west or northwest, I guess?
Yeah, we do have title to that whole triangle that's up on the board there as well, next to it. The problem, at least expressed problem, has been the proximity to the river. It's very close along that bend there, so I think there's maybe, I'm not sure if I want to say 200 meters from the current one, but you kind of get stuck with that same proximity throughout the whole development. It's similar to the parcel on the other side. Like the other side of the parcel there, I think it's closer to at least 700 meters away. And of course, with modern engineering and such, there's you can do whatever you want. It's just really the cost of engineering. So, you know, it could apply it to both cases. But anyways, that potential for expansion there, it does currently, you know, live with that current proximity to the river, which is thought to not be ideal. It's a high-risk scenario.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's my thought, is we're only, I guess, 700 further meters away, but if we're going to be that close in proximity to where we already are, I'd like to see potentially a look at least maybe a preliminary look at see what it would be to just expand the current site. I mean, I don't know, but to me it seems like it would probably be a more cost-effective option. We already have infrastructure there that we could utilize, and I mean, we're also not talking about backing onto private property and commercial property that landfill site 3 would likely be encroaching on. That is going to end up being a controversial issue when this comes to public consultation. And if we go all the way down the road of this and then find out later on that it's not something we have the appetite to do, then maybe we're going to be right back to where we are right now. So just a thought, and you know, obviously there's more time for discussion on this and it's going to come back, but just wanted to throw that out there, that if we're already going to essentially be in the same location, I would like to see us look at potentially expanding the existing site, closing what we have, and moving further northwest. I don't know how council feels about that, but I would be interested to see what we could get presented with that. Councillor Bouchard.
Yeah, I guess with my long-standing award here, I just wanted to come back on some history here. Back, I think sometimes in the mid-90s, Site 2 was kind of a recommendation at the time because of clay base, and I want to say there's more residents probably a little more interested at that time, but yeah, that area was kind of one of the top selections at that time in the 90s when we were talking about it. And then in the 2000s, we actually talked about a Buffalo Junction area where we would share with Res and KFN and everybody, kind of a regional landfill for, I don't know, 10 years. They probably talked about that. So yeah, I don't disagree that option 4, expanding the current one, should be something we look at. But yeah, just for a note, we have Site 2 was kind of in selections in the past for corporate history. Thanks.
Thank you. And then I guess the other, you know, contributing factor there would be cost on an ongoing basis. If we go to Site 2, we're still maintaining the original site to, or Site 1, even if we'd still be maintaining that original site and part of the closure, but we'd also be looking after a new site. And if it was Site 2 is further away, it would likely cost us more to haul waste there from town than it does now. But just some thoughts that I've had while looking over this over the weekend, and if anything further from council. Yeah, go ahead, S.A. Elspeth.
Maybe just to add a little bit of information too on Site 2, which is, yeah, by the gun range area there. I think it's actually thought to be closer to the river than landfill Site 3. I mean, yeah, you can see even on the bottom there how it bends really close to the highway. So surprisingly, right? But yeah, the economic cost is quite a bit more on the operations side for trucking it out, which is almost double the distance it currently is, and some of the attraction of Site 3. There's a little bit of problem. Well, again, we don't have access to some of that area, but there's been concerns in past reports from the gun range as well in that area. You know, I guess potential to relocate it if the gun range if you wanted to as well. But anyways, multiple concerns there. I just think just one thing on the expansion of the current site. I think it does. I think one thing to consider is it is really close to some of the other economic development and residential areas already established on the south side, or sorry, on the north side, which is some of the river or some of the water does go towards the river, but it also kind of goes towards the lake as well. And there is some potential berm-like effect on Site 3 that has highway and rail track kind of incorporated in. But really, you know, all of this would result or would come out of a more detailed study, and I think we have approved spend for that in the budget already. Adding another site to the consideration, like I think the one expanding on the existing site would probably, the train's very similar, so it would probably be more of that kind of socio-environmental type of discussion. I can only imagine it would be scored with, you know, a bit more concern there. The 3 is tied. It is kind of closer to some of the agricultural spaces, but it also might open up access to those other areas. I don't think it's too uncommon to see landfills in kind of those rural spaces, but it's all not really, you know, nothing that's ideal, but just what they've looked at so far. So hopefully that supports it, but I don't think we could probably quite easily add that expansion site to the part of the study, because I think it's very similar lands and considerations.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, and sorry, one more thing. I had a quick look. I mentioned $5 million earlier for closure costs. Actually, we have an estimate from, it might have been 2021, but it was at $3.9 million for closure cost estimated in today's dollars, actually 2025 dollars.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to just see those other options if it's possible. And any other further comments from council on it before we? All right, so agreed to take forward? Okay. We could let Mayor Jameson back in.
Okay, so item 7J, excused absence. You got it, Councillor Wall, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the recommendation that the Council of the Town of Hay River excuses Councillor Lacusta and Councillor Duford from the Standing Committee of Council Monday, March 10th, 2025.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gagne. Agreed to take forward? Thank you. No notices of motion, so item number 9, I don't have anything for in-camera. Does administration? Nope. Okay, item number 10. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to the special meeting of council for March